Hey everybody, it's Dr. Beard again. Welcome to another episode of the Self-Care is the New Healthcare podcast. And Paul and I took a couple of weeks off. Forgive us. Had a lot going on. We were out in Colorado, couch surfing basically, and having to deal with taxes. So that is now behind us, and we have much greener pastures on the horizon, and hoping to bring you a lot more episodes
on a regular basis.
But, you know, we're human and we need time off too.
What are we talking about today?
So today we're going to talk about, we're going to continue our weight loss series, and we're going to talk about weight loss with regards to toxins or toxic burden. And toxins are something that we really don't stop and think about during the day, and how that's impacting our health, and specifically with regards to immune dysregulation, thyroid dysfunction, and things like that. So we're going to talk much more about that. But first, the Hellroys.
I don't take nothing that a doctor don't prescribe. I don't do no drugs, man. I don't do no drugs, man. I don't smoke no bud, man. I don't do no drugs, man. It angers up that blood, man, so I don't do no drugs.
All right, we are back. And this content is for informational and educational purposes only. It is not intended to provide medical advice or to take the place of medical advice or treatment from a personal physician, right?
Right.
And I'm not your personal physician.
So as we looked into this, I mean, at first we thought we'd try to give, tangible advice on every single thing, and quickly, it's
This is a huge topic.
It's huge, and you found that one website that really helped, though.
Yes, and that's where I use that website a lot. It's called ewg.org, Environmental Working Group, and it's my go-to source for when I have questions about, especially products that you typically might use in your home, and which products are best. And the ingredients and everything like that. I encourage you to go visit this website. Again, it's ewg.org, and it is a great resource for helping you navigate the whole, the toxic environment in which we live.
I think no one really realizes how much toxins that we're exposed to, and everything we talk about on our podcast has been, how things have changed in the last 80 years, but toxins is no different. From our beauty products to our cleaning agents to
food,
the building materials, everything.
Yeah.
So we'll kind of go through each one of them and kind of give you an idea of what to think about, and then you can go to this website, ewg.org, and come up with a plan. Because, folks, it's not all or nothing. It's called, as Amy just said, reducing your toxin burden. Because you're never going to, even in nature, you can be exposed to some toxins.
Yeah, the genie's out of the bottle. They're out there. And what you have to just kind of learn how to reduce your exposures. First of all, you got to know what to be on the lookout for, and then reduce that. And the reason you need to do that is because, there's a lot of things that are deemed safe today, and they're not. A lot of the products have been. There was a U.S. Toxic Substances Control Act that was introduced a while back, and every time I want to go to something, my computer just will not let me. What does it do that?
Just to mess with you.
I know. So anyway, there was this U.S. Toxicity Substance Control Act, and at this time of this act, there were 85,000 chemicals that were registered. And many of these were just grandfathered in with little or no health and safety testing.
Correct.
So a lot of the things that are being used in your beauty products, your food products, your dog's products, your garden products, they're not safe, and they've not been tested. And it's kind of crazy that that's where we are today. But these things can do it can have some really serious negative effects on the body, primarily because of the immune dysregulation that many of them cause. A lot of them interfere with your endocrine system. A lot of them act like endocrine disruptors, so they have major impacts on your sex hormones, your thyroid hormones, your adrenal hormones.
And that's why it interacts with weight so much.
Yeah, and that's why it has such when I see people who are carrying extra weight or they have metabolic syndrome and things like that, of course, I'm thinking of all the lifestyle things that might be going on, but I'm also thinking toxicities. Because when you're in that state, your body can't deal with the toxins as well as it would if it was healthier. But those same toxins can also push you more towards that inflammatory state, and you start developing issues like metabolic syndrome or diabetes or cardiovascular disease or eczema, psoriasis, autoimmune diseases. These things you have to address this. You have to.
And we have a couple friends right now that are doing almost everything right, but they have these major glaring health issues. And we suspect toxicities.
Yeah.
Whatever's left is what you have.
Right.
I mean, I hate to talk about COVID because we always talk about it, but here's a good example of you think you're doing something good for yourself, but the whole hand sanitizer. I mean, I understand. So if you touch something contaminated, you need to wash your hands. I understand that. But people are using these hand sanitizers, and there was a recent survey, and 8 out of 10 of them were toxic.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just... Yes, they're killing germs, but it's also...
But we live amongst germs, okay? And those sanitizers are destroying your skin's microbiome, this microbiome that's there to protect you.
I mean,
and you're just kind of destroying it. And I think, and lots of times just making yourself more susceptible.
Correct.
So
there's so many things that we put on ourselves that we think are healthy for us, but they are toxins. Sunscreen's another one. I use it periodically. We just recently bought some clothing that's supposed to be UV protected that allows us to cover more of our body because we're out biking, we're out doing things.
In Colorado, it's tough.
Yes.
The sun is intense.
Yeah, we'll post things and people are like, it's a toxin. I understand it's a toxin, but also having a 3rd-degree sunburn is not good for you.
And there are skincare and sunscreens that are much more healthy than others.
Yeah, we tried one.
And you can go on that website, ewg.org, and find out which ones are the best.
Right. And we tried some of the natural ones. And, of course, they're recommended by our friends who have Native American and are dark. And, hey, it works great. We tried the pumpkin seed oil.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it has some UV protection, but not enough for us.
But what it does have, it feels fantastic on your skin. And for you fair skin people like me and Paul, it gives you a little bit of tint, so it looks really good, and it's moisturizing, and it's natural. So that stays in my cabinet.
So these are just a couple examples of things that we use that are, quote, protection, but yes, they're toxins.
Because toxins, you have to think about what you're drinking, eating, inhaling, and putting on your skin. Those are the routes in which toxins enter your body. And depending on how well you are detoxing and how that's going to determine how you respond. Lots of times people will encounter these things. They're healthy, they're doing everything right, and they can get rid of it. Some people encounter the same thing and can't. And there's lots of other things to consider too, like certain genetic, polymorphisms as far as detoxing pathways go and stuff like that. But we all have those.
So this is one of the examples where doing something is better than nothing at all.
Right.
And I think people get, I can't do it all. Well, don't worry about that. Just start with the big ones.
And multiple skin sensitivities is a big one. If you have that I think you might that's a big red flag for me. Multiple skin sensitivities, as far as you might have a high toxin burden, and you just there's things I know as a practitioner, a functional medicine practitioner, has been trained to look for these things that set off alarms for me. This is stuff that was never taught in medical school or residency.
Well, it's
never.
I think what you said is the purpose of this podcast is just to make you cognizant of what you're putting on your skin, ingesting through your body, breathing, drinking, those vectors. I was surprised. That's our Instapot. We knew it was going to go off, but I'm making beef stew, so it's the pressure cooker.
Yeah, we actually do use it.
But I was golfing out in Colorado with Brian a few weeks ago, and it actually had a sign: "Do not put golf balls in mouth." And
Who's putting golf balls in their mouth?
apparently enough people to put up a sign.
Why would you put a golf ball in your mouth?
I think that
I don't understand.
I think it probably there's just like a little bit of grass or debris, and they're spitting on it and trying to clean it, and they are using their mouth as a cleaning device. Point is, there's a vector that people should have known better, but they didn't, because golf courses are a toxic waste.
Yes.
It's just all it is herbicides and pesticides.
And glyphosate.
Yep, just as much as you can pump in there. And that's what makes the golf course so pretty.
Right.
But there's I guess they found enough people that are that dumb to put the golf ball in their mouth. They had to put up a sign. We're hoping that our listeners are a little bit brighter than that. But that's a good example of an unintended vector into your body. Playing golf, you're fine for the most part. I mean, you're inhaling a little bit, but don't put the golf ball in your mouth.
And I don't want this to make you scared to go outside. Everybody's already scared enough, thinking they're gonna, breathe a COVID particle in the air that's floating around out there. I think.
Yeah.
At least it appears that way sometimes.
And maybe if some of you know it is toxic, just limit the amount, like we mentioned about with sunscreen.
Right.
Try to avoid how often you have to use it. Lathering up your kids every time they go out is not a good idea.
No, it's not.
Have them go out later or earlier. Go about beauty products, because I think that's something that we have a lot of female listeners, and I mean, obviously toothpaste and deodorant and soap.
Yeah,
those are things that could be a toxic vector. But beauty products, you said, is one of the worst.
Yes, there are a ton of chemicals in these beauty products. The makeup, the shampoos, the moisturizers, the lotions, the bath oils, and all that stuff. There are a lot of nasty chemicals.
Even heavy metals.
Because a lot of the times we didn't know where this stuff was coming.
Well, they had lead.
And lead and mercury in a lot of these products, especially the makeups. And women are just applying them all over to their skin. And women are much more, have much more exposure to these things than men do, obviously, because we're the ones that are, putting all this stuff on us all the time. You guys do a little bit, but not nearly as much as we do, it seems. But that's one area where you have got to start thinking about what's in this stuff, and how often am I using it, and what other products could I use in its place. And again, ewg.org is your resource for that when you're trying to find more organic, natural ingredients in these types of products
for the beauty products,
and we've made a pretty good effort to do that with our shampoos and body soaps and things like that.
Yeah, we've done a better job. But even the good ones, you read them like, wow, there's still a lot of ingredients.
I know. And then so you've got all of those beauty products and things like that. And did you know, I think they said, and I've mentioned this stat before, the average woman leaves the house with about 125 different chemicals applied to her body.
No wonder y'all are crazy.
Whatever, Paul, you got to really bring that up. Seriously.
I'm sorry, I just had to.
Seriously, let's not talk about some of the things that you have done in your past, okay?
All right.
You might have been wearing some makeup that I wasn't aware of, if that's the case.
I waved the white flag. I'm
okay.
sorry.
He knows better. He knows I'll tell on him too.
Cheap shot. I think what you said about the vectors are eating, breathing, drinking, but you also have to look at whatever you're eating or drinking has been exposed to. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that people don't think a lot about.
Because we always encourage people to go organic to reduce your exposure to particularly glyphosate and Roundup and things like that, not the pesticides.
Well, I meant just to storage. So things that are stored in plastic.
Right.
So folks, don't reheat anything in plastic. That's just...
Yes.
That's one
No.
And your water bottles, if those water bottles get hot, you're going to leach plastic. Plastic is relatively inert as long as it's not too warm, but it's the warmer it gets, even your high quality plastics are going to leach. Teflon in your skillets is another one.
Yeah, we got rid of those.
Well, and people go, it was the whole non-fat nonsense. Folks, fat's good. Fat is a nutrient. Good butter, good oils, great. And that's where the Teflon crap came from. It's like, oh, we have to go no fat, low fat.
Yes, that's another thing that came from that stupid, low fat.
Completely wrong.
Yeah.
Carbs are your enemy, folks, not fat.
Right.
So just give some thought about what you're cooking, how you're storing things. If you're going to store, it's better to store in glass. If you're going to store in plastic, make sure it's cooled before you do it.
Right.
So if you put leftovers in plastic that are cold and you put them in the fridge that is cold and you take them out.
Yeah, storing them that is fine.
I mean, it's some exposure, but again, we're talking about reducing things.
Right.
And we're not going back to and especially in the microwave, do not reheat anything. Well, try not to heat as much in the microwave in general because it reduces the quality of the food, the taste at least, especially your meats and things. There's no radiation poison. We won't get into that. That's not an issue. Microwaves are safe, but it's just not a good way of heating. But heating in plastic in a microwave is absolutely horrible. And this is people, I mean, I'll catch myself almost doing it like, oh yeah, I got to take that off because you're in a hurry.
Right.
And all these pre-made dinners, processed dinners,
They're all in plastic.
don't do it. And you're heating them and you're eating bad food that's being reheated in plastic. No wonder you're not feeling
It's
good.
leaching into your food.
So
And you're consuming endocrine disruptors.
So you're cooking. Glass is your best storage. Your best cooking is stainless steel and cast iron.
Right.
And if you
Hands
stick,
down.
and just use
And glass.
And glass.
You can use glass as
and
well.
just use a lot of oils, you'll be safe.
Right.
So
But get rid of the Teflon. Don't use it anymore. It's getting into your food and it's not good. It's not good for you at all.
Well, if you look at any Teflon pan that's old,
It's all scratched up. Yeah.
That went.
Somebody consumed that.
Yep.
Multiple times.
We mentioned water as far as water bottle. I think a lot of people buy bottled water because they think it's better, but they've tested a lot of this stuff. It's no better than tap water. It's just the convenience of having it. So I think the number one thing that you can do for yourself is high quality water. Even
Absolutely, yes.
even chlorinated tap water, assuming that the tap water does not have all the other contaminants, which it does. But if it just even the chlorine is put in there to prevent bacterial growth, and you're ingesting it.
You've got bacteria in your digestive tract.
That's all we talk about
and on your skin.
Exactly. So you're bathing yourself in chlorine, which is killing your skin biota and your gut biota, and this is the number one thing you can do. And so we're in the midst of upgrading.
And there's fluoride. Almost every municipality has fluoridated their water now, and it seems like to be an even bigger push, more so than ever, to get everything fluoridated.
Yep.
And that's not good.
Save your teeth, kill your thyroid.
Yes.
So it's my brother's a dentist, and he argues with me. I said, he goes, well, there's no proof of that. It's like, yes, there is. There's lots of proof.
There's lots of proof that you're just not going to see it on Google. All right. They're not going to let you.
Yeah. Fluoride looks a lot like iodine to your
thyroid.
To your thyroid, so that's why
fluoride used to be used as a hyperthyroid treatment, and they were using it in amounts that we now find in tap water in some places.
And they say no smoking gun here. That's why the thyroid is such a big issue nationwide. But when you look at your water, your first level, your easiest level is to get rid of the chlorine. A Brita filter or something like accomplish that, and that's a good first step. And it gets rid of some of your bigger, heavier metals. It's not
a Berkey. And then again, on the EWG.org website, there is a section dedicated to water, and they can break down the water filtration systems that exist.
And you have to spend a little bit more in order to get rid of the fluoride because it is tougher to get rid of. But
it's worth it.
It is worth it. And also, if you filter too much, you're getting rid of all the
minerals.
So you have to remineralize. Because if you drink distilled water, it's clean, but it's hard for your body to absorb it. Those minerals help you assimilate that water.
Your water's supposed to have minerals.
Some, exactly. That's the difference between hard and soft water.
Right.
So water is probably the number one thing you can do as far as improving your toxin burden and loading it.
And remember, we're just trying to reduce the burden, all right? We're all going to be exposed to this, but we're all trying to reduce our exposures, and you have to do it on multiple fronts, and water is one of those.
So we talked about dietary, and you said to go organic as much as possible.
If that even means anything anymore.
Correct.
But that whole industry is getting bastardized as well.
But it's a starting point. At least you have some indication of the herbicides and pesticides that may or may not have been sprayed. But
I don't trust it hardly anymore.
No, you got to know so we have a beautiful peach tree here, and it produces incredibly good peaches. Last year we had a very low crop because it had a lot of worm infestation. So I said, well, this year I'm going to try, and I sprayed prior to the buds blooming. I heard that would help. And they grew and they looked great.
What'd you spray?
It was a fungicide and an insecticide. So it's non-organic. But
Okay.
I want to try it. This was before the peach, this is before the flower had even bloomed. It was still in bud stage. And I tried that. I said, that's all I'm going to do. And the peaches grew, and they almost were ready to get harvested. And then we got hit by brown rot. It wiped out every single one of them. So I talked to a lady who grows peaches. She goes, oh, yeah, you did the first step correctly. You wait and don't spray during the bloom. Then every 7 days through harvest, they're spraying that. I love peaches, but just think about it. It's a furry, fuzzy item that's being sprayed every 7 days in order to get that to market. You better peel it or scrub the crap out of it.
Right.
And this is common.
And most people do peel their peaches, but you need to wash them first.
Wash them first.
Otherwise, you're just going to be putting
So-
it all over your fruit.
So if anyone's selling you an organic peach, I'd like to talk to the farmer. Because it is. I'm not saying it's not possible, especially in desert areas.
Yeah, here in Arkansas, there's no way.
No.
No, there's just no way.
No, this.
Too many bugs. Way too many bugs.
But spend the time to wash your food.
Mm-hmm.
Buy what you can that's organic. Buy what you know from a farmer that you grew yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Read the list for the Dirty Dozen. Dirty Dozen, all it is a list of ones that tend to cling on to pesticides more. Some are more obvious, like lettuce,
Right.
peaches.
The berries and things like that.
Some that are less obvious are potatoes. I was surprised that potatoes get sprayed a lot of. It's probably from a fungicide or something else. But you just try to avoid them, and this is all you can do. And then you peel and clean and do the best you can.
But the stuff we raise in our raised beds is we do that organically.
Completely organically,
Yeah.
yes. So, and the peach was I just wanted to try it one time, and I'm going to go back to the old way because,
That didn't work.
well, I heard it got brown rot because we had a lot of moisture this spring.
Yeah.
So the food gets complicated, and it's the same way with your meats. The meats, your chicken, if you're not buying organic, they're having hormones and antibiotics added to their feed. So
And injected into them.
So for the not the chickens,
Or,
but
yeah.
for the beef, you're
Yeah.
right. So that's why it's important there. I would encourage you also just to find a local farmer, get together with some of your friends, and buy an animal yourself, and then have it slaughtered. You got to book out. Everyone apparently is now doing this
Yes.
because the local slaughterhouses are.
Which is great. I'm glad to see that. That's awesome.
It is great, and if Congressman Massey's Prime Act bill will pass, that'll help a lot, which will allow farmers to get their meat processed at a local processor, a non-USDA, but it's still an inspected facility, and allow them to resell. And this will prevent the 3 or 4 big companies that
Right.
control 80% of our meat production. They have a stranglehold.
Right.
Because, you got to come through our system. So it's these are some of those small things you can do. Why don't we go over cleaning products, because we just cleaned our house this morning, top to bottom.
We sure did, didn't we? Got up and at 'em.
But we
Got ourselves a clean house for about a day or two
yeah.
before it goes back to crap.
But we used a citrus-based cleaner for our floor cleaner.
So you can use vinegar.
The toilet stuff, we used the toxic stuff. The scrubbing bubbles. But that was kind of a choice we made.
I'm not going to be licking the toilet bowl. I'm not
Hopefully.
going to compete in that challenge.
No. Wasn't that like when the COVID challenge, people did that and they got sick?
I don't know that.
But so the same website will have a ton on the different cleaning products, but you don't have to use something caustic. Baking soda, vinegar, citrus-based products.
Those things can do a pretty good job.
Yep.
And we've gone pretty much all natural with our cleaning products, which from what I can tell does a really good job. And I don't have to, if you have pets and kids who are always on the floor, think about how are you cleaning your floors? I don't want to expose my pets and kids to toxic stuff.
Well, the same thing you're putting in your yard. So apply that to kill the weeds out in your lawn. That's toxic. To get rid of the insects. That's toxic. And so
Right.
the kids and the dogs walk on it and bring it in, and you pet them. So these are all these different vectors that are not as obvious as.
Yeah, you're walking around, especially if you live on a golf course like your mom does. That's a big deal, and you've got to think about it's getting in your yard when they spray the course.
Well, think about your brother's house. He lives next to
Cotton field.
cotton field. He can't even have fruit trees. because his fruit trees, the fruit gets killed every year because of the crop dusters and the overspray. And unfortunately, your niece and nephew are being raised in this.
I know. I try not to think about it. My mom's already had her glyphosate levels tested, and they were sky high. And I know it's because of where they live. They live in rural Arkansas, and they're surrounded by all that. Mm-hmm. They're just constantly getting exposed.
They're being bathed in it.
I know, and I don't know what to do with it, and have them move, and they're not going to do that anytime soon.
So we mentioned, the cleaning products. I think another thing that's changed a lot in the last 80 years is our building materials. It used to be metal and wood, not a lot of off-gassing.
Right.
Now we have composite wood that, the plywood has been glued together, so it has off-gassing. The flooring that we have, the backing on carpet, if you have carpet, it's...
Oh, our houses now are full of it.
Yes, so especially new houses.
We don't have lead paint anymore, but we have
a lot more VOCs.
A lot more VOCs, yeah.
And
all the glues.
I mean, you can smell it. When you go to that new house smell, that's pretty much just the off-gassing.
Yeah, and there's a syndrome called TILT. It's called toxicant-induced loss of tolerance. And we call it a TILT syndrome because a lot of people will develop all kinds of weird symptoms or exacerbations of chronic ones after moving into a new home or one that has been extensively remodeled. Mm-hmm. And it's because of all the chemicals they're being exposed to and all these they're off-gassing. Especially initially, that's when a lot of them are off-gassing all at the same time. And it's just you're being inundated with all of these chemicals. And it's something we always ask about when we have new patients or, old patients or whatever, they're starting to have trouble. We're like, have you made any renovations? Have you moved into a new home? We investigate your toxin exposures in depth because we want to know what kind of toxic exposures you have.
Well, my house flooded last year, and about 6 months later, I got all these mysterious illnesses.
Yeah, mold. And mold is another one that we always inquire about because it's toxic. Black mold is toxic. We had some in our house, didn't we? Mm-hmm. Underneath the kitchen sink, back in the back bedroom, along the floorboards, and somebody installed floors in my closet wrong. And without putting down a vapor barrier, and we had to rip it all up because there was so much mold.
Yep.
And every time I go in there, I would have my eyes would burn, and I would have a tickle in my throat, and I'd start kind of coughing.
Because with mold, you either have to remove it or encapsulate it. Mm-hmm. So what I mean by encapsulate, if it's in the walls, and as soon as your HVAC unit comes on, you're creating a negative pressure in your house. So it's going to pull through that. So if you cannot caulk around any openings, paint to make sure it's encapsulated in there, you're going to have to remove it.
Yeah, because mold abatement can get very expensive real quick. I know people who have had to move from their home because it was so extensive. There was no abatement. They just had to leave.
You got to, exactly. It can be too bad. But you're almost treating it like you would asbestos, where it's either remove it or encapsulate it. It's best left alone. But get someone to help you on that. Again, that's something that's, there's vectors that you may not think of.
Right.
Get someone to help you. The air, obviously, in your home, from what we just said, all that's important.
Yeah.
Change your air filters. I mean,
it's something that's so easy to forget.
Because remember, just dust particles are toxins. Mm-hmm. So just cleaning your air in your house, especially your bedroom.
Well, not toxins as far as chemicals go. They can be irritants for some people and cause histamine levels to rise.
But if you have a good filtration system on your HVAC system, and then maybe even put another filtration system in your bedroom, because you're spending 8 hours in there. So that's where you want to make sure your sheets are not toxic and your air...
Your mattress isn't toxic.
Yeah, which is tough because so many of them have the additives. I mean, really, if you're not going to go to a latex bed, which is the most expensive,
right,
that's the only one that has no VOCs.
Right.
And we're laying on these things. So,
there's a lot of companies out there who are going much more natural.
Absolutely.
With what they're using to make their mattresses, and you probably need to explore that. And that's something that you consider. You're laying in your bed for 8 hours at a time, breathing in the off-gassing of the mattresses.
And you're wearing less clothes, and you're being exposed. Your sheets, whatever your sheets are touching you. So
what have you washed your sheets in? Mm-hmm. We use 7th generation.
Yep.
Washing detergent. I'm pretty pleased with it. Does a pretty good job. Smells good.
The next one should be a no-brainer because you just shouldn't be eating it. Processed food is just full of
glyphosate.
Well, it's because
All of it.
yeah, they're using the poorest quality ingredients, so it's all gonna be all GMO. They're doing the most things to stabilize it. You know, Walmart will not allow you to sell any food in their market that does not have, excluding vegetables and the meat.
Right.
But if it's a processed food, it has to have a shelf life of over 3 years.
That is okay. If something has a shelf life of 3 years,
Over 3 years, that's the minimum. Some of the stuff is mandated for 5 years. So you got
don't eat it.
exactly what have they done to this?
It's frankenfood.
Because even when I can tomatoes, which are one of the easiest things to can and one of the most stable, at the 18-month level, you can tell they're starting to change.
Yes.
You're supposed to cycle them in and out to
Right,
get
right,
to the
right.
season. That's your own organic, just tomatoes and acidity.
Well, that's what your grandparents did. They canned it and ate it that year.
Yeah, you don't eat it too.
They weren't prepping for, when the hits the fan.
No, so it's the processed food. And then if you take it even further, and you're talking about stuff that's coming in from China, I wouldn't eat anything that comes from China.
No. Why would you? They cannot be trusted at this point.
They've poisoned our pets with melamine.
Our kids.
Our infants with melamine in the infant foiler.
Yes.
Because the melamine made it look like it had a higher protein content. I always tell people
Our medications.
any tilapia that comes from the fish, the tilapia that comes from China, is being grown in basically sewage waste.
Yep.
Sewage waste makes algae bloom, and tilapia is a rare, the cichlid is a type of fish that's a tilapia, and it can filter those nutrients through its gills. So that green, nasty crap you see that's like, oh, that's what they're living in, and they're selling it to us.
Yeah, I know. And people are eating it like, oh, yes, I'm going to be healthy. Give me the tilapia.
I'm giving some fish. So I just wouldn't try. They've lied to us too many times. This is not the people. This is the government. So people are like, you're being racist. No, I'm not. I'm talking about the government that allows this crap to happen.
Yes. They could care less about your health, people.
Dog and cat. We mentioned that as far as just going outside and being exposed to things. But
Pet products.
I mean, we put the front line, which is the stuff for the.
I didn't want to, but the ticks are so bad.
We tried it one time with Bo, our poodle, and he hid in the room. He obviously had a bad reaction.
Like within 30 minutes of putting it on him, he just started acting weird, and he went and laid down, which is not typical of Bo. And I was like, all right, that's it. I will never do that again.
So for my yard, what I did, I mow it frequently, which keeps it down. And then at the perimeter of my fence, that's where I put the tick crystals down to try to prevent them from coming in.
Right.
And in the summertime, we just don't let them hike in the woods like we normally do. We keep them on a leash and we hike on the roads.
That's another reason we go out to Colorado.
Oh, it's so nice. You can walk.
You don't have to worry about ticks.
Or chiggers.
Or mosquitoes, kind of depends on where you are, but nothing like
yeah, they're slow.
the Delta of Arkansas.
Yeah, they're slow down there.
Yeah.
Even the flies are slow in Colorado. So it's not so bad. Yeah, but
But there's a lot of especially dog shampoos and things like that are just full of nasty stuff. Don't do that to your pet.
And then you're petting your pet.
And then you're petting your pet.
Especially your kids are loving on your pets. So again, we're not trying to scare you with all this. It's just a matter, you need to think about what's coming in your body and what are the different vectors that are not direct. Like we mentioned, the dog getting into something and the dog coming to you. These are things that you just have to be aware of to try to lower your toxic burden. Anything else we can go over as far as, like I said, the number one thing you should be doing is water. Water is the best thing you can do.
Clean water, clean food, clean air. Those three things right there can get you very far in reducing your toxin exposures and your toxic burden. There are other things that we always inquire about as well. Silver amalgams. Most of us, that's what they used back in the day when you had a cavity, right? They put a silver mercury filling in your mouth. And over time, those things break down, they off-gas, and it's a source of mercury toxicity. And I encourage patients to get rid of those. Go see a biological dentist who is experienced in their proper removal so that they're not just exposing you to large amounts when they're being removed, and get them out.
And people's like, well, I've had them, I've never had any problems. Great. That means you're detoxing mercury faster than you're absorbing it.
And how do you know you're not? Or do you,
Yeah,
I hear this all the time. Well, I got them and I don't have any, and didn't do anything to me. But at the same time, you just got through you have diabetes or your blood sugars are bad, you're on a statin, and because your cholesterol levels are elevated, and you just told me you had eczema. I mean, people just kind of think it's normal to have those again, No, it's not.
No, it's not.
It's not at all.
So some people just actually detox more efficiently than others. I think we should use this as a segue to talk about, detoxing when we're talking about for toxin exposures.
Mm-hmm.
Detoxing is not, most people don't understand detoxing. They think that it's something that's pulling out, which you can use that, but it's dangerous. So why don't you give your philosophy as far as supporting the body versus chelating and things?
Drinking celery juice is not detoxing. Okay, that just stop. Your whole body is a detoxing system. The liver is a huge contributor of that process, or at least involved in the process. Your kidneys do it. Your gut, your GI tract has its own little detoxification system. When you sweat, you're able to get rid of a lot of nasty products. There are toxins that you excrete in your breath. Okay, so when you breathe, you're exhaling things. That's another way you get rid of things. But we like to focus on the body has to be in balance. Everything has to be working efficiently for you to quote detox. That means when you come into when you encounter a toxin, how does your body first of all break it down to make it less toxic and then get rid of it? That's really the process right there. Phase 1, your liver has phase 1, phase 2, some say phase 3 of a detox process. And it's all about making a toxic substance less toxic to the body, water soluble, and then getting rid of it through your urine, feces, your breath, your sweat. Okay? That's how you get rid of this stuff. So if any of those are compromised, then you're not going to do that very well. And your liver requires a lot of different nutrients to do this. Lots of antioxidants, lots of B vitamins, lots of minerals.
Certain amino acids.
They all have to be there for your body to do this efficiently. And a lot of us are walking around with suboptimal nutrient levels because of poor diets, poor gut health, and our bodies are using up these nutrients much more quickly than they should because of all kinds of other things that are going awry in the body. And so, it's not just a matter of, I'm just going to take this supplement or drink this celery juice or go sit in a sauna. I mean, those are all great, and those are things that I encourage people to do, but it's all about putting in the good, removing the bad, reducing your exposures.
So it's more of a supporting mechanism.
Yes.
If you give the proper nutrients to your body, then you're more likely to be able to detox.
Yeah. And even your own thoughts can negatively impact the detox process.
So obviously good water would be paramount in detoxing because you're using fluids.
Your body's mostly water, and all these reactions take place in an aqueous solution, in an aqueous environment. So you better have plenty of water on board, and good water.
And then
be hydrated. So you have to be hydrated.
So if you're hydrated and you provide the proper nutrients, your body will do a pretty good job of detoxing.
And in elimination, you get constipated when you're dehydrated. Elimination is one way that we get rid of the toxins that we have countered.
So you should be pooping, peeing, and sweating.
Yes.
The whole time.
And breathing well.
And breathing deeply.
Unencumbered.
That was not a slide on mask, was it?
Perhaps.
So I think people get confused with detox. They think it's something that's pulling out, and there are detoxes that do that. In fact, there's IV chelation. This is for extreme cases, and it has negative side effects. It's risk reward at that part. Okay,
yes. You better do it right, or you're going to mess yourself up.
It's the equivalent of stirring up a paint can. When the stuff's at the bottom, it's relatively safe. You stir it up. That's what you're doing with some of these chelating agents. So unless you can stir it up and pull it out, you've actually caused some harm also.
You're re-exposing your body. Yeah. A lot of times these toxins are lipophilic. They like fat. and so they get stored in adipose tissue. And while that's safer than being around in your bloodstream where it has access to your brain and your organs and other things, your body will store it in fat, and that's safer, yes, but it's still exerting effects on your body when it's there,
and that affects your weight loss ability.
And then
toxic fat is hard to get rid of.
Yeah, and it causes inflammation, and then inflammation makes you fat. It's a big vicious cycle, and it's one that you just into quote detox or try to deal with some of these, like the heavy metals. That's a big one, the lead and the mercury. This has to occur over a long period of time. This cannot be done quickly, and if you do try to do it quickly, you're going to end up being really sick.
Mm-hmm. And it's so funny functional medicine. I love it because it's cutting edge science, but almost always it circles back. You can find what we used to do that caused it. That we accomplished that. I think I've used it in one of our previous episodes talking about the Seder supper, which is a Jewish supper that basically it's just a detox. They're eating bitter herbs and they're fasting.
Yeah, bile is one way that your body excretes a lot of toxins. So bile production is very important.
Which can be stimulated through fat ingestion, like olive oil.
Fat and bitters.
Mm-hmm. So again, this is not something to just do willy-nilly. It's to be more strategic. But these are, and some of them are in our diet all the time that we used to eat a lot more. Parsley is something that people used to eat. It used to be celery, carrot, and onion, and parsley. Those are the four things that went into everything. My beef stew over here has celery, carrot, and onion. But parsley and cilantro are two things that, quote, detox. They actually have some chelating abilities. Not strong.
No, not at all.
But if you're ingesting this stuff every day,
over time, it's going to help you.
Yes, and it's what your philosophy on detox is: support the body to allow it to rid itself. And both parsley and cilantro are unique that they're chelating agents, but they're also binding agents. So you almost kind of get a twofer that you're chelating it out and you're grabbing it.
Yeah, but your first line of defense is your gut health. If that's optimal, you're going to reduce the damage caused by things that you might ingest.
You'll eliminate it before it enters your system. It's in your GI system.
And a lot of those bacteria, there's some research going on showing how maybe perhaps their roles in the detox system.
Well, sure. I mean, if you have bacteria and enzymes that can break down plastic, I'm sure we have something in our body that can rid toxins. I mean, these things are amazing. These niche players and what they can do.
Yeah.
Well, I hope we haven't scared you.
No, and we've talked about just I want you to be cognizant. All right, it's the yard, your house, your beauty products, your dry cleaning. How many of you, are dry cleaning your clothes all the time? You talk about toxic substances on your clothes. That's it. I mean, I know they look nice and everything, but man, you need to start really. I would say don't do that. Stop using the dry cleaners.
Right.
I know you don't want to hear that.
Or at least for the most, not for daily wear. At least.
Yeah, exactly.
For the night out in the town, maybe. Okay.
It's just
risk
reward.
I mean, yeah. When we started out, we had kind of a concierge functional medicine practice, and we had a couple of people that we didn't take them on as patients, but they took it to such extremes. I'm not going to enter your building, and if there's any scented candles, okay, we're not asking you to be that extreme.
But don't use those. Be careful with the scented candles.
No, I know, but I'm just using that as an example where
and stay out of Bath Body, or what was it called?
Bed Bath and Beyond.
No, not Bed Bath and Beyond, but Bath and Beauty Works. Bath Body. What was it called?
I don't know. I'm sure they've got they probably have a business by now.
No, my niece likes to go there and sniff all the toxic perfumes and candles, and then I can't go in there. It makes me sick.
Because it's sensory overload.
It is. It's just like, oh my gosh, this place is no, stay out of that.
Well, I just wanted to say that you can take it to an extreme where you don't have to worry about everything. It's just reduce. You're not going to eliminate everything.
Yeah, and then you can get used to this new reduced lifestyle, and then when you're comfortable with that, let's see what else we can take care of. Maybe do it more of a stepwise fashion so it's not so overwhelming to you at first. But you're going to be doing yourself a world of good if you will.
Yeah, start with water. That's the
water, food, air. Let's just start there. Can we just start there? And then start thinking about your beauty products and your pet products and your dry cleaning and your laundry and,
And your golf balls.
Yeah, and your golf balls. And, the fillings in your teeth. We always ask about that one. We always ask about mold and mold exposure and water leaks and things in your house. And we also ask about how often do you go to the salon and get your hair done? What other cosmetic procedures might you be getting?
Another thing we missed, your job.
Your job.
That's one that you have to factor in.
And we ask about that one too.
Of course you do. Mechanics. We have a lot of mechanics. Bless their hearts, they're exposed to so many bad things. Petrochemicals in general are dangerous. You're inhaling them. If you're not wearing gloves, you're touching them. You're covered in grease. It's a tough job. That's a lot of toxins. They're running these vehicles to test them while they're in an enclosed building, and then you're breathing the carbon dioxide and the off-gassing from, not the off-gassing, but the gases coming out from the car.
Are you welding?
Welders.
That's lead exposure right there.
Oh, it's more than there's so many different metals. You're melting metals, so you're making metals airborne.
Are you wearing what kind of protection are you wearing?
Most of them don't. You just have your face shield because of it'll burn your eyes out. But
they're still inhaling.
They have fans that blow away,
right.
But it's not perfect.
People who work in salons.
Oh, the poor people who do nails.
The nails and just being around the perms, the hair dyes. I worry about these people. Mm-hmm. The exposure is just crazy.
Office workers, because you're in the HVAC system in some of these.
Recirculated air.
These are older systems. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously Legionnaire disease is one of the more
government buildings. Do you work in a government building? Those are notorious for having mold issues because they're old.
They're old.
And they've had a leak or 2 or 3.
And the little cubicles are made of off-gassing type carpet.
Yeah, I know.
It's just a toxic air environment in some of these places. Again, not trying to
painters.
Painters and auto body people. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just so think about what your business.
Breast implants. That's one that we didn't really talk about. That deserves an entire episode. We always ask about breast implants because a lot of these women have been dealing with, quote, mystery illnesses. And it's not really a mystery once you realize that they've been walking around with these toxic bags in their chest for so long. And they only and a lot of people don't realize they only have a 10-year shelf life from the time they are made, not from the time they are placed into your chest. From the time they're made, and they're made out of really nasty stuff. I know the FDA says they're safe. Who really trusts the FDA at this point? Please. They are causing serious health issues and are even causing cancer in some women. It's called breast implant illness. It is real. I've had patients who have had all kinds of problems and then only started getting better once they had them removed. And when they had them removed, they were one pair I remember was covered in black mold. And these were in her body.
And the recovery rate was so quick. I mean, it's so obvious.
Well, not quick for some people.
Well, you're right.
Some people, it's a long road, but
they've damaged so much.
Yeah, but they were able to recover. It was just a long road, and it required a lot of discipline and dedication to it. But there are plenty of success stories out there, and if you have breast implants, I don't mean to scare you, but at least start looking into breast implant illness if you are having issues that just don't make sense to you, okay? A lot of autoimmune issues, a lot of fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue and thyroid problems and all kinds of weird stuff associated with these breast implants. They're foreign bodies. Your body thinks it is a foreign invader and is treating it as such.
So when you work with our health coaches, this is what they walk you through. Mm-hmm. Everything we've talked about. Basically, they're making a medical timeline from birth to your age now
until current time,
and what from work, home, food, it's exhaustive what they have to do because they're all different possibilities.
We're just trying to piece it together and seeing what exactly is contributing to what you're going through right now. What has led up to this point? Where did things go awry?
If you have a functional medicine health coach that's backed up by a functional medicine MD, you can accomplish great things.
Yeah, the investigative process is intense and very thorough with us.
You will not even see a patient until they've gone through
No,
it.
I don't want to see you until we've done an investigation. I need to know what's going on in your life. What has gone on in your life? What are we dealing with? You know?
Yet our current medical model, you walk in,
They'll never ask you about any of this.
10, 15 minutes once or twice a year, and they're going to solve all your
First of
problems.
all, they think that breast implants are just fine because the FDA said so. I don't know why we continue to put so much trust into people who have got it wrong so many times. But
Well, we need to.
it's kind of crazy.
It is crazy, and we won't go over the V one just because it'll get us
No.
censored. But there's one that begins with a V that everyone gets that can cause a lot of problems.
Well, there's a lot of heavy metals involved in that and some other nasty stuff in those products as well.
Right.
All right, so I think we've kind of covered the gist of it. I wanted you to just start thinking about toxins, your toxin exposure, and just know that none of us are perfect. We're never going to be able to escape these things. But you can certainly start taking measures now, today, to start reducing those exposures. And it's going to have some really good health effects if you do so.
Yep.
Okay. And then if you're overwhelmed and if you have mercury fillings, or you've got breast implants, or you've got other implants, other dental implants too, that can be problematic as far as immune dysregulation goes. And you're just kind of overwhelmed by it, you can schedule a time to talk to one of our health coaches. They can really start, and they can really do a little bit more better job of investigating and helping you think through all of these things and what you need to do after that.
Yep. But these first steps you can take on your own.
Right.
So do the basics, then start.
Investigate. Do your research. Again, ewg.org is a very good resource for this. Please use it.
Okay. We will see you soon.
Yes, the next one. Have we decided what the next one's going to be on?
No.
We haven't, have we?
We're trying to reinvent. We realize some of this stuff's not, I wouldn't say boring. We try to make it more casual than.
But it's boring to us because it's all we talk about. It might not be so boring to other people.
We need aliens or something. Lizard people and aliens. That'll get them.
Yeah, we're not going to do that. All right. So again, if you want to work with a health coach, a functional medicine health coach, if you're having some chronic issues that you're tired of dealing with and you want answers to, and you just want some direction on what you need to be doing to deal with that, please visit amybeardmd.com and take a look around and see what you think. If it sounds like it might be good for you, give us a call, give us a try. You can sign up on the website. We can get you started. You can follow me on Facebook, Amy Beard MD. We have a YouTube channel, again, Amy Beard MD. Instagram, same thing. And then, of course, on Twitter, it's self-care is the new healthcare.
And there's Amy.
And Paul manages that. So if there's any misspellings you see, that's him. All right. He's got terrible grammar and he can't spell. That is all Paul. He mentions these things, most of them, to me to see if they will pass before they get posted. But you have been posting stuff without getting my approval.
I are an engineer.
And it just kind of scares me sometimes. I'm like, what did he just post?
I've been pretty good lately.
Yes, you have. You've been pretty darn good.
All right, let's wrap it up.
Okay, we are done talking about toxins and weight issues, and we look forward to giving you another one, whatever that might be on.
See you soon.
Bye.
I don't take nothing that a doctor don't prescribe. I don't do no drugs, man.